Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
The UN boss makes an appeal to the international community on behalf of CARICOM. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Wednesday, July 3rd. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Dawn Paris. Good evening. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres on Wednesday gave a commitment to bat for Caribbean countries who are finding it difficult to access development funding. He made an appeal to the international community to give special consideration to nations in the region that need the help but do not qualify for financing. The UN boss made the call and gave the commitment as he addressed the opening of the 40th Annual CARICOM Heads of Government Conference on Wednesday evening, as he identified the difficulty in accessing finance as one of the major challenges facing small island development states.
And we join your call and will take the steps we can to improve access to development financing as a priority. I agree with you that eligibility for official development assistance and other forms of concessional financing should include vulnerability criteria in addition to gross national income per capita. I have to say that I have assisted to many interesting technocratic discussions about vulnerability and what it means. But having visited several small island development states in the Pacific and the Caribbean, I never found one that was not a clear case of vulnerability that should be recognized by all.
The UN Secretary General gave his support to the region on the issue of climate change as well, noting that Caribbean countries are feeling the effects of the actions of other nations. He said the speed with which regional states are able to access climate change financing must be improved. Guterres said multilateral development banks and development financing institutions have a key role to play in providing more long-term, low-cost debt financing.
For the international community to consider seriously how best to address the rising problems of over-indebtedness of middle-income countries. This slows their progress towards sustainable development and makes them even more vulnerable to external shocks. I strongly support the ECLAC proposal to convert debt to investment in resilience through the Debt for Climate Adaptation Swap and Resilience Building Initiative. And I know that several other initiatives are being prepared, and namely under the leadership of the Prime Minister of St. Lucia. And I would like to express the total support of the United Nations and my personal support to any initiative aiming at creating the conditions to allow for adequate financing, for building resiliency, and for recovering for the devastation of climate accidents.
Also addressing the opening ceremony, CARICOM Secretary General Ambassador Erwin LaRocque expressed concern that the region is lagging behind agreed deadlines in implementing the CARICOM Single Market and Economy, the CSME.
It is in our interest to accelerate this process and to create a competitive regional economy. We have brought on board the private sector, labor, civil society, representatives of whom will engage with heads of government at this meeting. The youth of our community continue to express their interests in the advancement of the CSME, as they told me on Monday during a live forum which reached more than 15,000 youth via the internet. These stakeholders are the beneficiaries of the CSME and therefore have a major stake in its implementation.
Ambassador LaRocque stressed that progress in advancing the CSME must be on the bedrock of a safe and secure economy, as he noted that concern about crime and security is a common thread throughout the region. He said efforts are being made to enhance cooperation and implement security architecture to combat the scourge of crime.
An important feature of that architecture are the legal instruments which have been agreed, but which are still awaiting more signatures to come into force. Following on the Special Summit on Security this May, this meeting will receive proposals aimed at deepening security cooperation in addressing transnational and domestic crime. We must be prepared legally and operationally to defy those who are intent on disrupting our society and destroying our way of life. The threats to our society are not only posed by crime and security. The blacklisting of some of our member states and associate members as non-cooperative tax jurisdictions is a clear and direct threat to the economic well-being of those countries.
Well, speaking ahead of the summit opening, Antigua and Barbuda's Prime Minister Gaston Brown made a call for the establishment of a Caribbean bank that would allow the region to counteract the position of international banks regarding corresponding banking.
There may even be the need for us to have a Caribbean bank that is a bank that is owned by various indigenous banks within the Caribbean, and one that could have branches in the, let's say, US diaspora, UK diaspora, Canadian diaspora, in order to provide services to Caribbeans in the diaspora, but at the same time providing corresponding banking to banks within the region, especially the smaller ones. My understanding is that there is an informal threshold of about $1 billion, so that generally speaking, banks that have less than $1 billion, they're almost not bankable for corresponding banking. The irony about it is that most of our banks have less than $1 billion in assets. So it has been a very difficult proposition for us. However, we have decided to raise the ante and to, let's increase our advocacy, because corresponding banking, in essence, is a public global good. So it cannot be looked upon exclusively from the standpoint of risk and return, because in essence, if you were to do that, then you will literally debank certain regions and certain countries.
And incoming CARICOM chairman and host Prime Minister Alan Chastanet told CMC News the regional bloc has very important decisions to make. The St. Lucian leader said there are many global issues that require the attention of the leaders.
I think, we always say the same thing, right? That we're at a crossroads and there are critical decisions that need to be made. And unfortunately, there's nothing different with regards to this one. There are a lot of issues that are taking place in the world that require our attention, but more importantly, need solutions. The issue with the blacklisting in the EU, the issue with Venezuela, the issue with our relationships with some of the larger countries, and now with the verge of Brexit becoming a reality. We need to have those discussions, but at the same time, I think that we need to be able to focus on what we can control. Are our institutions still delivering what they were initially designed to do? And is it time to recalibrate some of those institutions in order that we can deliver more results moving forward? So you take the CARICOM Secretariat. If we're going to have further integration, is the CARICOM Secretariat funded sufficiently? Is it structured properly in order to be able to handle that additional responsibility?
Coming up in Caribbean Newsline, the region agrees to establish an action plan to tackle sargassum seaweed. We'll be right back.
Welcome to this year's 50th Caribbean Broadcast Union Assembly on the island of San Andres. San Andres is a small archipelago located in between Jamaica and Panama in the Western Caribbean Sea. A lush, exotic island rich in culture, history, gastronomy, and breathtaking scenic views. Known for its beaches and 7-colored crystalline waters, the island of San Andres will be proudly hosting this year's event. CBU members will enjoy top-of-the-line accommodations for an unforgettable experience in San Andres, connecting Caribbean nations through this year's 50th edition of the CBU Assembly.
Most young artists not get opportunity like this. So I say this is a good opportunity for me to just come out and show the world what we can deliver.
Where are you from?
St. Mary.
And you left St. Mary, came all the way to Orchards for this?
Yes, sir.
What was the response, the feedback like tonight?
Oh, awesome. Awesome.
Thirteen countries from the Caribbean and Latin America have agreed to a 26-point accord to establish an action plan to address the influx of sargassum seaweed in the region following a recent meeting in Cancun, Mexico. The signatories to the agreement were Belize, Cuba, the Dominican Republic, Guadeloupe, Guatemala, Guyana, Haiti, Honduras, Jamaica, Mexico, Nicaragua, Panama, and Trinidad and Tobago. The agreement established last week outlines the need for cross-border information sharing on sargassum monitoring, science, education, and entrepreneurship, among other topics. It also calls on participants to begin identifying financial mechanisms to mobilize resources, to map out control efforts to identify sargassum-related initiatives, and to involve cruise lines in the issue. It's hoped that the action plan will be in place before the next Regional Sargassum Forum in Guadeloupe in October. The just concluded 23rd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival is being described as the most successful staging of the event as far as patronage and tourism numbers are concerned. Tourism Minister Lindsay Grant reported that not only did hotels and restaurants do booming business, but the final night of the event, which was headlined by Jamaican reggae star Buju Banton, attracted in excess of 15,000 people, a third of the St. Kitts and Nevis population, to the Kim Collins Athletic Stadium.
Volumes to what we can produce. They produced an excellent 3 nights. The production has been magnificent. Of course, we've had some hiccups, that's behind the scenes, but what you've seen has been flawless. And I think it goes to show you that we in St. Kitts and Nevis can punch above our weight. It has to be the best music festival ever. And I say that with no water in my mouth. It's about the numbers. The hotels are full, the airlines are coming in full, the restaurants are full, the vibes is right, and I think we have performed exceptionally well.
Apart from Buju Banton, this year's festival attracted international stars like Smokey Robinson, French Montana, Davido, LMA, and regional soca, reggae, and dancehall artists like Popcan, Coco T, Crossfire, Nadia Batson, Farmer Nappy, and Skinny Fabulous, along with local acts. Operators of Airbnb in Jamaica will soon be required to pay taxes. The island's tourism minister, Edmund Bartlett, says the matter is now being discussed. We get more in this TVJ News report.
On the weekend, the Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association President Omar Robinson suggested that taxes be levied on the Airbnb sector. Now, 3 days later, Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett is confirming that negotiations with Airbnb are underway, which will see the owners of Airbnbs paying taxes. Speaking on Power 106 FM's Morning Agenda on Wednesday, Mr. Bartlett says the government has recognized that operating standards have to be set locally. He adds that this will be done through the Tourism Product Development Company, TPDCO.
We are in negotiation now with Airbnb with regard to assess which will equate that of the guard which the members pay a la room tax. So that arrangement is pretty much down the road, and I told the JHD, in fact, that in short order we will be able to say exactly what Airbnb's contribution is going to be.
In the meantime, Mr. Bartlett says the minister will be upgrading the standards for all areas in the tourism sector. He says the Jamaica Tourist Board Act will be amended with focus on the license arrangement for accommodations.
Currently, for example, hotels have eternal license. So we are having now that amended to have a 15-year license, in which case you could manage the whole process better and require standards all around in a stronger way, but also have some kind of sanctions for non-compliance. And so within the context of all of that is not just the hotel accommodation, but all accommodations. Because one of the things that we are concerned about also is reputational integrity. And the destination's reputation has to be maintained at all levels. Also, tourism has become quite litigious. People are suing you for left, right, and center now for all sorts of things.
This week in Newsline Business, the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank says member states are making progress in reducing their debt to GDP ratio. Jamaica and Trinidad looking to strengthen trade, and Jamaica to launch a pension scheme for tourism workers.
The Eastern Caribbean Currency Union says member states are well on their way to achieving their target of 60% of debt to GDP ratio by 2030. Governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, Timothy Antwine, gave the assessment in his recently released annual report.
As at the end of 2018, the ECCU debt to GDP ratio stood at 67.9%, the lowest it has been since 2000, when it was last below the 70% mark.
Antwine added that the ECCU is projecting a 3.5% growth for 2019-2020. He says growth will require faster progress in a number of reforms, including
improving the business environment, modernizing our payment system, developing 21st century skills, more flexible labor markets, and the increased use of renewables in our energy mix. The new financial year, 2019-2020, will see us forging ahead with ongoing and new initiatives under the strategic plan, with a focus on continuing our modernization thrust.
Jamaica is looking to strengthen trade with Trinidad and Tobago. 7 Jamaican companies are on a trade mission to Port of Spain this week. In 2018, Jamaica exported $1.6 billion worth of goods to Trinidad and Tobago, its largest trading partner. President of the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, Richard Pandohi, says they are now exploring new regional markets.
So now when you look at food and import bill for the region, CARICOM has an annual food bill import of over $4 billion US. Effectively, by importing, we are building the economies of other countries. Some of CARICOM's largest food import, for example, between rice, chicken, pot, milk, cheese, account for over $1 billion of this.
And Trade Minister Paula Gopi-Skoon said the government is working to maintain the relations between the two CARICOM countries.
In 2019, the benefits of linking exporters to potential importers, exploring joint venture initiatives and longer-term relations between Jamaican and Trinidad and Tobago businesses remain relevant, and I really want to urge the participants to continue to pursue all of these initiatives for both our benefits and for the benefit of the region as well.
Jamaica's Tourism Workers Pension Scheme is set to be rolled out by January 1st, 2020. Tourism Minister Ed Bartlett says by that time, the first set of applicants should be registered for the landmark plan. He added that once the scheme is implemented, Jamaica will then be the only country in the world with a comprehensive pension plan for all workers in the tourism sector. An estimated 350,000 full-time, part-time, self-employed and contract workers across the sector stand to benefit. Marie-Claire Williams, Newsline Business.
Ahead of Newsline Sport, the eliminated West Indies upbeat and aiming for a win in their final match of the ICC World Cup. Stay with us.
Welcome to this year's 50th Caribbean Broadcast Union Assembly on the island of San Andres. San Andres is a small archipelago located in between Jamaica and Panama in the western Caribbean Sea. A lush, exotic island rich in culture, history, gastronomy, and breathtaking scenic views. Known for its beaches and 7-colored crystalline waters, the island of San Andres will be proudly hosting this year's event. CBU members will enjoy top-of-the-line accommodations for an unforgettable experience in San Andres, connecting Caribbean nations through this year's 50th edition of the CBU Assembly.
Coming up, top draw acts, influential players, all making moves during Caribbean Week New York. A familiar scenario for hotel icon Sir Royston Hopkins. When it comes to Barbados tourism, it's win-win for everyone. Cultural entertainment, fashion, music. It's all next on Caribbean Passport on this station.
West Indies will be aiming to finish strong in their final match of the ICC Cricket World Cup against Afghanistan on Thursday. Both teams will be playing for pride following their dismal performances in this year's tournament. But speaking ahead of their final match at Headingley, head coach Roddy Estwick says the team remains upbeat.
Well, you know, surprisingly, driving down from Durham after the loss, surprisingly the mood in the camp was still good. You know, the boys on the bus were still playing dominoes. The spirit in the dressing room is tremendous, and that can only serve us well going forward. So we're happy from that point of view. We're not happy losing games, but we're starting to build something. And once we can remain patient and we can keep building, you know, young players are coming through, and once that keeps happening, then things will get a lot better.
After having lost 6 matches in the tournament, the West Indies will be pressured to perform well, especially against a low-ranked team that stunned the former world champions in back-to-back victories in the World Cup qualifying matches last year. With the backs of the Caribbean men against the wall, Estwick is optimistic the team will end the tournament on a high.
Only walking in here a couple of minutes ago, I remember our backs were against the wall against England. We lost badly at Birmingham. Everybody was saying the final day that we were going to lose to England badly as well. And we chased 380 down. So hopefully tomorrow, with backs against the wall, we can come up with that kind of performance and we can finish on a high.
Well, England stormed their way into the first World Cup semi-final since 1992 with a 119-run defeat of New Zealand on Wednesday, choosing to bat after winning the toss. The hosts set up an imposing 305 for 8, with Johnny Bairstow scoring his second ODI ton. New Zealand's chase got off to a rocky start after losing Henry Nicholls for a duck in the first over, and then Martin Guptill for 8, leaving the team reeling on 14 for 2. Let's look back at New Zealand's runs chase.
Shot. What a shot. Yeah, it's a lovely shot. That really is through his hands at the ball. You're going to have a look at this. I say it's a game of inches, it's a game of touch. Gotta go. Oh, no, why? Thank you. Yeah, the obvious decision, well shot. That'll be 4. Bit of a gift from Rashid. That's a nice shot. If he keeps going for 4 and bowling half trackers, then he will be out of the attack. Oh, and he's dragging on. Change of angle work. There was a distinct lack of footwork from Jimmy Neesham. New Zealand 5 down. Picked him out straight away. The local hero, you say, Athers? All smiles now for Stokes and Wokes. Nice shot down the ground. Waited, and placed it through mid-on.
Scampers up the other end, takes Latham to 50. Polite appeal, quiet appeal. A soft dismissal for Latham.
That seems very straight. Big appeal. Right across the stumps, that front foot. And given out. Straight through Henry, who was halfway back to the pavilion before it was bowled. Don't know if he lifted his foot, whether this is the end of the match or not. Paul Rifle's been a busy man today.
Switching sports now, former world netball champions Trinidad and Tobago are hopeful of lifting another title 40 years after dominating the sport. The senior squad left the Twin Island Republic on Tuesday for the tournament in England. TV6's Sergio Dufour tells us more.
We have been preparing for a while, and I think we did enough work to make Trinidad and Tobago proud.
I am ecstatic about our chances at the Netball World Cup. I think that we would do great. We trained really hard. We worked assiduously to be where we are today.
I'm very confident. We have a really good team. I think that we have a good mix of experience and youth.
3 different individuals fulfilling 3 different roles in the national netball team, and they're all confident for different reasons that they can win the Netball World Cup, which runs from July 12th to the 21st. At the tournament, TNT will meet South Africa on July 12th, Jamaica on July 13th, and Fiji on July 14th in Group C. To win the title, they will be required to beat these teams. So what's the plan?
All the teams play extremely well, and Jamaica and Fiji are ranked on top of us, so we are targeting the big fishes and we hope to do well.
Coach of the team, Wesley Gomes, says that they'll be doing some fine-tuning in their pre-tournament camp abroad.
Samantha just came in last week, so we didn't have a lot of time to work the combinations, the foreign combinations, Samantha and Khalifa, so it's going to be a lot of combinations and to select the final team.
TNT finished 9th at their last World Cup tournament. It's left to be seen if their efforts will amount to a much more fruitful outing in the 2019 Netball World Cup.
And that's the sport. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Again, the major developments of this day, the UN boss appeals to the international community on behalf of CARICOM, and in sport, West Indies upbeat and aiming for a win in their final match of the ICC World Cup. And that's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport around the clock, subscribe to CanadaNews.com. For more of our programming, log on to caravision.tv and check out our YouTube channel. We'll be back here again tomorrow, but from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching and have yourselves a good night.